The great alien fleet rested in open space, proud and calm. Thousands of warships floated in perfect lines around a burning blue star. They had won. The human worlds were silent. The human cities were ash. And the galaxy believed one thing with full confidence. Humanity was finished. Alien leaders watched the stars from their command bridges. They spoke of peace. They spoke of new rule. They spoke of a future with no humans. No one was afraid anymore. Then the sensors began to fail. At first it was small, a weak signal, a soft pulse in deep space. So small that most systems ignored it. But one young alien officer did not. He leaned forward in his seat, his eyes locked on the screen. "There is movement beyond the dark zone," he said, his voice shaking. The commanders laughed. "There is nothing left out there," one of them replied. "Only dust and dead worlds." The officer checked again. The signal was growing stronger. Slow, heavy, massive. Then the shadow moved. Space itself seemed to bend. Stars behind the shadow vanished for one long second. And every alien screen went white. Warning alarms exploded across the fleet. Red lights flashed. Systems screamed. Shields powered up without any command. "What is that object?" a commander shouted. No one answered. Then, without sound, without fire, without light, the shadow revealed its true shape. A warship, not an alien design, not smooth, not beautiful. This ship was built like a weapon. Dark steel armor, sharp edges, heavy engines glowing like trapped suns. And written across its hull, in old human metal letters, were two simple words: Judgment of Earth. Silence swallowed the fleet. The alien admirals stared in horror. "That ship was erased in the war records," one whispered. "It was never completed." "But it is here," another said, his voice empty. The human warship did not move. It did not attack. It only watched. Inside the ship, the human captain stood calm and still. His face showed no anger, no fear, only cold focus. He looked at the massive alien fleet on his main screen. Thousands of ships, thousands of worlds behind them, all built on the belief that humans were weak. "Signal ready," his officer said. "Broadcast to all frequencies." The captain gave a small nod. A single human message spread across the galaxy. "Clear, cold, final. You destroyed our homes. You burned our children. You hunted us for being slow. Now you will learn what patience creates." The alien leaders tried to respond, tried to send peace signals, tried to shut down the channel. It failed. The human warship began to charge its main core weapon. Power levels rose higher than any alien system could measure. Energy bent around the ship like a storm trapped in metal. Fear spread for the first time in 100 years. The alien commanders shouted orders. "All ships target the human vessel." Full fire. Thousands of weapons locked on. Millions of missiles launched. Beams of plasma filled space like burning rain. The human ship did not dodge. It did not run. It raised one shield, and everything stopped. Every attack vanished into the shield like drops into an ocean. Not a scratch, not a flicker. Silence returned, heavy and crushing. Slowly, the human warship lifted its main weapon forward. A weapon built not just to destroy ships, but to erase cities, to break planets. The alien admirals understood the truth in that single motion. They were never fighting survivors. They were facing judgment. And in that moment, as the weapon reached full charge, the entire galaxy realized its choices were fatal. The alien fleet stood frozen in fear. Thousands of warships aimed their weapons at the single human vessel. Yet no one fired again, because now they understood something terrible. This was not a forgotten ship. This was not a lucky survivor. This was a lie the galaxy had been telling itself for years. That humans were weak. Inside the alien command hall, the High Admiral slowly stood from his throne. His old eyes stared at the human warship on the massive screen. "That ship should not exist," he said, his voice low. "We erased every human factory, every shipyard, every world." A silent officer spoke with shaking hands. "Admiral, The humans wanted us to believe that. The truth struck the room like cold fire. The war against humanity had been fast, brutal, and one-sided. The alien alliance had arrived with endless fleets. Human defenses broke. Human cities burned. Human skies turned black with ash. From a distance, it looked like total victory. The galaxy celebrated. Songs were written about the fall of Earth. Monuments were built to mark the end of humans. But deep under ruined planets, under broken moons, and inside drifting wreckage, the humans did not die quietly. They learned. They studied alien weapons. They copied shield systems. They tested enemy power again and again in secret. They failed many times. Millions more died in silence. But they never stopped. The human warship, now floating before the alien fleet, was not built for pride. It was built for revenge. Inside the judgment of Earth, the human crew moved with calm control. No one shouted. No one panicked. They had already accepted death long ago. The ship's AI spoke in smooth metal tone. Core weapon at 92%. The human captain closed his eyes for a moment. In his mind were not weapons, only faces. His family, his home, the blue sky of Earth that no longer existed. He opened his eyes again. Hard, silent, focused. Hold at 95, he said. Back inside the alien command bridge, panic slowly turned into chaos. Messages flooded in from nearby systems. Unknown ships detected. Human signals found. Hidden bases waking up. They are everywhere, one officer whispered. We thought they were gone. The High Admiral's voice cracked for the first time. How many, he asked. The answer came like a knife. Enough. The alien fleet tried to retreat. Engines powered up. Jump drives charged. But space itself began to bend. The human ship's gravity control activated, pulling the nearest warships closer like broken metal toys. No escape, the human captain said calmly. The alien fleets opened fire again in blind fear. Light, plasma, fire-filled space. But the human shield absorbed it all, like a god standing inside a storm. Then the human captain gave his next order. Open all public channels, he said. Across thousands of worlds, across peaceful alien cities and distant star stations. The human signal spread, not as a threat, not as a scream, but as a simple truth. We were never gone. You only saw what we allowed. You taught us how cruel the galaxy can be. Now we will teach you what humans become when they survive. On distant alien worlds, civilians watched the message in shock. Many had never even seen a human before. They had only heard stories, lies. Back in the main battle zone, the human ship unlocked its secondary weapons. Dozens of heavy cannons turned toward the nearest fleet lines, each one glowing with stored rage. The human captain raised his hand slowly. First strike, he said. The warship fired. Space ripped open with light and soundless explosion. 5 massive alien warships vanished at once. Not destroyed, erased. The rest of the fleet broke into full panic. Formation collapsed. Orders collided. Fear ruled all minds. The High Admiral stared at the burning stars in front of him. His victory had lasted only as long as the lie remained alive. And now the lie was dead. Far inside the human ship, the AI spoke again. First strike confirmed. The captain did not smile. This is only the beginning, he said quietly. And across the stars, the galaxy felt its first true heartbeat of fear. Across the burning space, wreckage of alien warships drifted in silence. Fire had no sound in space, but fear did, and every alien ship could feel it. The human warship moved forward slowly, not like a hunter in a rush, but like a king walking to a throne. Inside the ship, deep under heavy armor and glowing systems, the truth of its birth lived in secret memory. Years ago, when Earth was falling, when the last human cities burned, when the sky turned red and the oceans boiled, a small group of humans escaped into the dark. They were not soldiers. They were not rulers. They were builders, scientists, engineers, and broken survivors. They carried no hope, only anger. They hid inside dead asteroids, inside hollow moons, inside silent space wrecks forgotten by the enemy. And there, in darkness, the project began. It had no name at first, only a purpose: build one ship, just one, but make it stronger than an empire. They used stolen alien parts, broken human metal, experimental cores that melted crews during testing. Many died before the ship ever moved, some to failure, some to madness, some to their own fear. But the project never stopped. Children were born inside metal halls. They learned to walk under red warning lights. They learned to read from dust-covered screens. They learned one truth before any other. The galaxy had chosen their death, and one day they would answer. The ship was finally finished in deep silence. No cheers, no celebration, only quiet eyes looking at dark steel. The name was carved into its hull by hand, not by machine. Judgment of Earth. That was the day the humans stopped running. Now, in the present, that same ship faced the galaxy, and the galaxy was not ready. Inside the alien command bridge, messages of disaster poured in without pause. More hidden human signals detected, outposts destroyed, supply routes erased. They are cutting our nervous system, an officer cried. They knew where everything was. The High Admiral slowly fell back into his throne. His hands trembled. They were never animals, he whispered. They were students. The human warship locked new targets. One after another, alien defense stations vanished like candle flames in storm. Back inside the human ship, the crew worked in cold rhythm. There was no joy in their faces, only duty. The captain stood before the main view screen, watching alien worlds appear as glowing points in the dark. Target index, his officer said. First genocide world locked. The name of the world appeared. A green world once filled with human refugees, now ruled by silence and bones. The captain closed his eyes again, for 1 second only. Then he spoke. Fire. The main weapon brightened. Energy gathered like a trapped star. Space curved around its weight. Across the galaxy, sensors screamed. Alarm systems failed. Civilians looked up in fear at quiet skies. The blast was released. The weapon did not explode. It passed through space like a blade of light, straight into the heart of the distant world. The planet cracked, split, and folded inward like paper. One world erased for 1 billion lives taken. Inside the alien fleets, panic turned into terror. They were no longer fighting a war. They were watching justice fall from the sky. The High Admiral shouted into the void. Open peace channel again. Offer everything. Systems, worlds, technology. The reply from the human ship was short. You already paid with blood. Then something changed. A new signal appeared behind the human warship. Then another. Then another. One by one, shadows moved in space again. More human ships began to decloak. Smaller than Judgment, but still powerful, still deadly. Hidden fleets, hidden for years, hidden in graves of metal and rock. The galaxy had not faced one survivor. It had faced a hidden army. The alien officer screamed in disbelief. There are too many. We cannot stop this. The High Admiral finally understood the final truth. Victory over humanity had never happened. It had only been delayed. Inside the Judgment of Earth, the AI spoke once more. Enemy morale collapsing across multiple sectors. The human captain watched the growing human fleet appear on his screen. He did not smile. He did not celebrate. He simply gave his final order for the coming storm. Release the hunters. And across the stars, hidden human warships moved as one. Not for conquest, not for power, but for the long, silent scream of a species that refused to die. The stars filled with moving shadows. Human warships rose from hiding across every sector. From dead asteroids, from broken moons, from silent wreck fields. The galaxy watched in shock as the darkness itself turned into an army. Alien fleets tried to regroup. Orders were screamed across open channels. Lines formed and broke in seconds. Fear spread faster than any signal. Inside the judgment of Earth, the human captain watched the chaos with cold eyes. The hidden war was now open. There was no turning back. Enemy fleets are forming three main lines. The AI said, "They will try a full surround." The captain nodded once. "Let them gather," he said. "They should die together." The first full battle began without warning. Human ships surged forward like waves of steel. Their engines burned white and blue, cutting space like blades. Alien weapons lit the darkness with fire and panic. The sky became a storm of light. One human cruiser cut through a group of 10 alien ships in seconds. Its side cannons spoke without mercy. Every hit was perfect. Every shot was final. Alien shields failed again and again. They were strong against normal enemies. But humans had learned their shape, their limits, their lies. Inside one alien battleship, a young commander watched his weapons fail, his screen filled with warnings. Power loss, core breach, engine failure. He whispered in fear. "They are not fighting like soldiers. They are fighting like survivors." The human fleet pushed deeper, breaking formation after formation, turning organized defense into scattered escape. Then the alien High Admiral gave his last great order. "All remaining fleets, focus on the main human ship. Destroy it at any cost." Thousands of alien ships turned together, all weapons locked on the judgment of Earth. This was their final hope. Inside the human warship, alarms echoed for the first time, not from fear, but from impact warnings. The storm came. Endless beams, endless missiles, endless fire. The shield of judgment burned bright as a false sun. For a moment it held. For a moment, even the humans could feel the pressure. The captain clenched his hand slowly. "Redirect all reserve power to forward shield," he ordered. Power shifted across the massive ship. Systems dimmed, weapons paused, engines slowed. Everything went into one thing: survival. The alien fleets roared louder, believing they finally saw weakness. Then the shield changed. It hardened, it sharpened, and suddenly it was no longer only defense. The judgment of Earth pushed forward through the storm, not avoiding the fire, walking through it. Alien ships that touched the shield ripped themselves apart. Metal tore open, cores collapsed. Crew vanished in white light. Inside the alien command center, terror broke into screams. "It is using its shield as a weapon. It is impossible." The human captain watched in silence. This was not impossible. This was prepared. Then his voice cut through the control room. "All fleets," he said, "close the trap." Human ships that had been scattered suddenly changed direction. From every side, from every dark corner, they rushed inward. The alien fleets were being boxed in. Slowly, perfectly. There was no open path left. The High Admiral stood shaking. He had ruled wars for decades. He had crushed countless worlds. But he had never seen this kind of death. Cold, silent, certain. "Send final surrender code," he whispered. "Beg if you must." The signal left his ship in broken pieces of fear. But the human reply came as one calm voice. "You had your chance when we were weak. You chose fire. Now you face what fire creates." The trap closed fully. Human ships fired from all directions at once. Light crossed light. Explosions overlapped explosions. Entire fleets vanished inside expanding rings of energy. One after another, alien symbols on the galaxy map turned dark. Inside the judgment of Earth, the AI spoke again. Enemy core fleets collapsing. Command structures failing. Galaxy defense system offline. The human captain slowly exhaled. This was no longer just revenge. This was the fall of an age. Across distant alien worlds, rulers watched their sky maps go empty. Trade routes died. Defense lines vanished. Hope fell like ash. One alien child looked up at the sky and asked his mother, "Are the humans coming for us?" She had no answer. Back on the battlefield, the High Admiral watched his final screen fade. His empire was gone. His fleets were gone. His victory was finally exposed as a lie. As darkness filled his bridge, His last words left his lips in fear. We should have never touched Earth. And far beyond him, surrounded by silent stars and burning wreckage, the judgment of Earth continued forward. Unstoppable, unforgiving, a shadow of human memory turned into moving justice. The galaxy was no longer fighting a war. It was surviving a reckoning. The battlefield fell into a strange silence. Not the peace of safety, but the silence of something that knows it is already dead. Broken alien ships floated like dark bones across open space. Fire cooled into drifting smoke, and the human fleet held position, watching, waiting. Inside the remaining alien command corps, the surviving leaders gathered in fear. Their great halls were cracked. Their screens flickered. Their voices shook. The High Council of the Galaxy, once proud beyond measure, now stood with empty hands. One by one, they removed their crowns, their symbols of power, their pride. The High Speaker stepped forward, his legs weak. He raised his hands toward the massive image of the judgment of Earth on the screen. "We surrender," he said, his voice broken. "We give you worlds. We give you technology. We give you stars. Just end this." Across thousands of alien worlds, the same message echoed. Surrender. Peace. Mercy. Inside the human warship, the control room stayed quiet. No chairs. No anger. Only stillness. The human captain listened to the begging voice without change in his face. He had waited too long for this moment to feel anything. "Open reply channel," he said calmly. The link opened. The galaxy held its breath. The human captain's voice spread across every system, every palace, every street, every home. "Once," he said, "we asked you to stop. We sent warning messages. We begged you to spare our worlds. You laughed. You called us slow. You called us weak." The alien High Speaker fell to his knees. "We were wrong," he cried. "We were blind." The human captain did not raise his voice. "We were not blind when we watched our children burn. We were not blind when our planets cracked. We were not blind when you hunted refugees across empty space." Silence followed his words, heavy and crushing. Then he spoke again, slower, colder. "You taught us what mercy costs. Now you ask for it when you have nothing left." The human fleet did not move. The weapons did not power down. Across alien cities, panic exploded. Civilians ran through the streets. Some prayed, some screamed, some simply waited for the sky to fall. Inside the alien High Council chamber, the leaders broke completely. They bowed their heads to the floor. They pressed their faces to cold metal. They became small. "Please," the High Speaker whispered, "end it with one strike." Inside the judgment of Earth, the AI spoke softly. "Probability of total alien extinction within 12 cycles is high." The human captain stared at the star map. Red marks still covered many systems, each one a world that had once held human life. He turned to his crew. They did not need orders anymore. They already knew what this war meant. The captain returned his gaze to the alien leaders on the screen. "This is not about ending," he said. "This is about remembering." With a single motion of his hand, a new command was sent through the human fleet. Across multiple star systems at once, human weapons fired again. Not capitals, not at rulers, but at the Great War factories, the clone yards, the weapon forges, the slave camps. Alien war power collapsed in waves. System after system went dark, not in total death, but in helplessness. The galaxy was being disarmed. Slowly, publicly, forever. The High Speaker watched his empire lose its teeth in real time. "No," he cried, "you are leaving us alive." The human captain answered without emotion. "Yes." The alien leader trembled. "That is worse." Human ships moved through former battle zones like silent ghosts, destroying every hidden weapon stock, freeing every enslaved race, shattering every secret fleet before it could rise. Slave worlds watched human warships descend from the sky, not as conquerors, but as the end of chains. On one distant prison planet, Millions of broken beings stood in the open for the first time in their lives. They looked up at a human cruiser hovering above them, and they did not know whether to fear or to hope. The human broadcast reached them too. "We are not your masters. We are the proof that monsters can bleed." Back in the core alien system, the High Council chamber fell into darkness as its last power core shut down. The leaders sat in shadow, stripped of fleets, stripped of armies, stripped of control. For the first time in their long rule, they were only living beings again. Outside, the massive shape of the judgment of Earth passed slowly across their sky. Not firing, not speaking, just watching. The galaxy understood the message clearly. Humanity was not here to rule. Humanity was here to make sure no one ever ruled like this again. And as the last alien war signal went silent, as the final factory fell into dust, the stars finally stopped screaming. But the fear did not fade, because the galaxy was still alive, and now it had to live knowing what it had created. The galaxy was quiet again, not the quiet of peace, but the quiet of a wounded giant holding its breath. Most alien armies were broken. Most war factories were dust. Most rulers were silent. But not all. Far beyond the core systems, in a red dead zone near a collapsing star, there was one final fleet, the last war force built in secret, hidden even from the High Council. Its leader was not a king, not a politician, but a war mind, a commander born only for destruction. His name was Vrax the Ender. For decades, he had watched the war from shadows. He had studied humans in silence, their pain, their patience, their rage. He did not beg like the others. He did not fear like the others. He prepared. Now his fleet moved at full speed toward the human-controlled sectors. Thousands of black warships, built only to ram, to burn, to be killing. Inside the judgment of Earth, warning alarms rose again. Not loud, not frantic, but sharp. The AI spoke. Unknown fleet approaching from red zone. Size exceeds previous records. The human captain turned slowly, his eyes locked on the growing red signals on the map. "They saved this for last," he said. Across the human fleet, new orders spread. All ships reposition. All weapons prepare. This was no longer a chase. This was a wall. On distant freed worlds, former slaves felt the shift in the sky. The stars seemed to lean inward, as if the universe itself was watching another final choice. The two forces closed in the dead zone of space. Light met darkness. Steel met shadow. Vrax's fleet attacked without warning. No message. No signal. Only pure forward fire. Human defense lines absorbed the first impact. Several cruisers broke apart in silent bursts of light. For the first time in the war, human ships were falling fast. Inside the judgment of Earth, the captain felt the loss like a cut in his chest. But his voice stayed calm. "Hold formation," he said. "Do not break." Vrax's ships rushed forward like living weapons, crashing into human lines, detonating cores on contact, taking human ships with them. This was not a normal battle. This was a suicide storm. The AI updated in cold tone. Human losses increasing. Enemy shows no retreat behavior. The human captain understood. Vrax was not trying to win. He was trying to erase. Then the human captain made a terrible choice. "All heavy ships fall back," he ordered. "Leave only the judgment in the forward line." The crew stared at him in shock, but the order was absolute. Human ships pulled back, forming a wide arc of light behind him, leaving their flagship alone before the black storm. From the dark fleet, Vrax saw it and laughed. A sound of metal and madness. "So," he said, "the heart comes forward at last." His entire fleet locked onto the judgment of Earth. Every weapon, every core, every death drive. The attack struck like the fall of a star. The judgment's shield burned brighter than ever before, cracking the dark with white fire. Power levels surged beyond safe limit. Systems screamed warnings. The AI spoke with strain for the first time. Core stability at 60%. The human captain did not move. He stood tall as his ship shook beneath him. This ship was built to suffer, he said. Let's remember why. Vrax's fleet slammed closer and closer. Layer after layer of suicide ships died against the shield, each impact shaking the judgment deeper. On the bridge, human crew members bled from noses and ears. Gravity waves crushed their bodies, but none of them left their stations. The AI spoke again, softer now. Core stability at 40%. The human captain slowly raised his hand. Release the final lock, he said. Deep inside the judgment of Earth, a system that had never been used before awakened. Not a weapon, not a shield, a death engine. Space around the ship began to fold inward. Light bent sharply. Time itself stuttered for a breath. Vrax's laughter stopped. What is that? He whispered. The human captain answered. This is what you built in us. The death engine activated. A silent wave exploded outward from the judgment of Earth. Not light, not fire, but pure collapse. Vrax's fleet did not burn. They did not explode. They simply stopped existing. Thousands of warships erased in one breath of time. When the wave ended, the red zone was empty. Only drifting dust remained. Inside the judgment of Earth, systems went black one by one. The AI spoke one last warning. Core collapse in 60 seconds. The human captain looked at his crew. Faces burned, hands shaking, eyes still strong. You did enough, he said softly. Behind them, the human fleet raced forward, trying to reach their dying flagship. And across the galaxy, every living being felt the truth hit their bones. The old war was over. Now only the price remained. The Red Dead Zone was silent. No alien ships remained. No weapons burned. No Indians craved. Only dust drifted where a great fleet once ruled. At the center of it all, the judgment of Earth floated in darkness. Its lights were fading. Its massive body was cracked and wounded. Human fleets rushed toward it from every direction. Engines screaming in fear. Hearts heavy with hope and terror. Inside the dying warship, power failed system by system. Gravity weakened. Lights blinked out. Air grew thin. The crew stood at their stations. Some were wounded. Some were shaking. None were running. The human captain remained at the center of the bridge, watching the stars dim on his main screen. The AI spoke softly now, its voice weak. Core collapse in 20 seconds. The captain closed his eyes. Not in fear, but in memory. He saw Earth as it once was. Blue oceans, green fields, open skies. He opened his eyes again and looked at his crew. You gave the galaxy a future, he said. That is more than a life. The crew stood tall in silence. With pride, with pain, with peace. The AI spoke one final time. 10 seconds. Outside, human ships came as close as they dared, desperate to save even a single soul. But the space around the judgment twisted violently. No ship could cross it in time. 5 seconds, the AI whispered. Inside the bridge, the captain placed his hand on the main console. This ship was never meant to return, he said quietly. It was meant to be remembered. The final second arrived, but the explosion never came. Instead, space itself tore open behind the judgment of Earth. A massive white gate formed from bending light and broken gravity. A hidden system older than the war, older than the galaxy's fear. The dying ship was pulled into the gate in one silent motion, vanishing from known space. Gone without flame, gone without sound. The white gate collapsed, leaving nothing behind but drifting stars and broken dust. The human fleets stopped in shock. Their scanners showed nothing. No Reiki, no Bodius, no signal. The judgment of Earth was gone. Across the galaxy, news spread like slow thunder. The last enemy fleet erased. The human flagship missing. The war finally ended. Alien worlds waited for punishment that never came. Instead, human ships arrived without weapons fire. They brought food. They brought medicine. They brought freed prisoners home. The galaxy did not know how to understand this. The species that had been hunted, burned, erased, was now the one holding back the fire. Years passed, then decades. Empires fell quietly. Slave markets became empty ruins. War factories turned into schools and stations. No ruler dared to rise with chains again, because every child in the galaxy grew up with one story. The story of the hidden human ship, the story of the judgment of Earth. They were told how humans were mocked as slow, weak, easy to crush. They were told how humans waited in shadows, built in silence, learned in blood. They were told how one ship stood against the galaxy, and the galaxy lost. On a distant mixed-world school, a small alien child once asked his teacher, "Were the humans gods?" The teacher shook her head slowly. "No," she said, "they were survivors." The child then asked another question, "Will the judgment of Earth return one day?" The teacher looked up at the stars through the school dome, at the endless sky where legends now lived. "We do not know," she answered, "but we live as if it might." Far beyond known space, inside a quiet white void, a wounded warship drifted slowly. Its lights were weak, its hull was torn, but deep inside, a single system blinked alive again. Power returned as a soft whisper, then louder, then steady. The AI awakened in silence, scanning unknown stars, unknown space. It spoke gently into the empty bridge. "Captain." A battered human hand moved on the command chair. Slow, weak, but alive, the human captain opened his eyes, not to a battlefield, not to fire, but to stars no human had ever seen before. "Status," he whispered. The AI answered, "Come once more." "Ship stable. Crew alive in stasis. Location unknown." The captain breathed out slowly, then looked toward the new stars. "So," he said softly, "it begins again, and far away, in a peaceful galaxy that feared the dark no more." People still looked at the night sky with silent respect, because somewhere beyond the stars, beyond memory, beyond fear, the shadow of humanity still moved. And the galaxy would never forget what happened when the hidden human warship revealed itself, and choice itself ran out.